Hello everybody, Ryker Richard here, sounding off from Chile, South America, talking 4-0. First time ever in Raptors franchise history, getting that perfect sweep on the road trip. Danny Green sounded off after the post-game interview, and he said he doesn't even remember a time with the San Antonio Spurs that he had this much success, that he had the perfect record after more than 3 games on the road. So very impressive feat. However, not an impressive game, unfortunately. Very sloppy in terms of turnovers, a lot that could definitely be improved upon, but ultimately, throughout all the nitty-gritty, the Raptors came away with another victory. Break the podcast down into positives, negatives, and maybe a look ahead. Of course, the segments as well. The old classic, do you want the good news or the bad news first? And it's hard to be too cynical, of course, in a game that the Raptors still win. They still continue their win streak. Only one blemish on their otherwise perfect record. But we'll start with the negatives just to get them out of the way. The first thing, of course, Nick Nurse mentioned it. It was very visible if you were watching the game. Tempo. The tempo was completely controlled by this Kings squad. However, it makes sense. It's not very often you see an NBA team go out and full court press nearly the entire game or for at least the first half. But this is a very young, energized squad. They have some really good talent. De'Aaron Fox has been doing great things. Buddy Hield. We've talked about this team in the preview on the last podcast. Marvin Bagley, Willie Cauley-Stein. This is a team that really is shaping up into a good young ball squad, and it makes sense that they want to bring it to the best team in the Eastern Conference, that they want to keep that pressure on them the entire game. Thankfully, the Raptors were mature and poised enough that they were able to stay aggressive even when shots weren't falling, even when it seemed like there was a lid on the basket. They were able to continue to get to the free throw line to keep the offense flowing. However, the Kings did throw them a wrench in playing such fast-paced basketball, in swinging the offense and the tempo around as much as possible, and really keeping the Raptors on their toes. So tempo was completely dictated this game by the Sacramento Kings, but I don't think that this is the biggest issue for the Raptors team. The biggest issue, undoubtedly, is the turnovers. 21 this game. A lot of sloppy passes, a lot of trying things that really didn't seem very calculated, passes that you don't really expect from guys that have so much experience in this league. Of course it's going to happen, but it's not a team with incredible length, incredible physical prowess. It's really just a mediocre team. Their defensive net rating is amongst the bottom in the league in terms of allowing points per game, so I'm a little bit surprised that the Raptors were trying to force so many things. And also, it didn't even translate in the box score with team assists. Normally, this Raptor squad is very good in sharing the basketball. Today, only 17 team assists. I'm really was perplexed watching this game as to why it was so sloppy. But, of course, fourth night, playing a game outside of your own arena, an extended amount of time away from the home gym, away from the homes, away from a lot of rest. Of course, it's going to happen that mentally you're not as engaged, but turnovers will be a big problem when you have a team that can capitalize, because this King squad wasn't able to convert these turnovers into points, but it could have been a completely different game. So the Raptors better clean that up, or else against a more strong team, they're going to come in to have a lot more struggles. Final thing, the final negative, let's not bring this podcast down too much, margin. I don't know if anybody else is concerned about this, but on average, they're only winning games by about 12 points now. Certainly, this is very good when you have majority of the teams in this league are only floating around 50% wins. So of course, to complain and to nitpick that, we're only winning by 12 points each game, it certainly seems like a very, speaking from a high horse type of scenario. But the thing is, I expect a lot from this Raptors squad with the amount of talent and the versatility and the depth that they have. And I've been picked apart in the comments for constantly comparing to the Golden State Warriors. However, this season, or so far this season, this is the closest comparison to make. And you have the Golden State Warriors, you can see, able to be dominant from start to finish with a much greater margin. And now this is kind of perhaps an odd thing to pick apart. And correct me in the comments if you disagree, but I think that this might be an issue with capitalizing. And if you're going to bring your play level down to that of your opponent and not going to continue to push the pace and push the tempo and expand the lead, then I think when you play against a better team, you're going to hang around too much. You need to have that lethal instinct that once you have a big lead, to continue the lead, because basketball is a game of runs. It's such an unpredictable game, and any swing can go from a 20-point game to 5-point game. If you look at Philadelphia, they seem to be really good this season at going down by a lot or going up by a lot and bringing it back really close. I would hate to see the Raptors get comfortable with getting a big lead and allowing it to become close to 5-10 points and then becoming complacent and then waiting until the fourth quarter to really put the nail in the coffin. I think it would be greater if the Raptors were able to capitalize on a big second quarter lead, a big third quarter lead, and continue to build upon that, whether it's the bench unit out or the starting unit out. But I think that, again, it's too early in the season to maybe criticize this too much, but I think that the Raptors have the talent to win by much greater margins. And with all that being said, a couple of days ago, the Golden State Warriors did lose by They did only beat the Brooklyn Nets by 6 points. So, of course, we can't set the standard too high. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets aren't the worst team in the league. Of course, they have some good talent on that squad, but if you're only beating the Brooklyn Nets by 6 points, then I can't say that the Golden State Warriors are absolutely flawless. We'll talk about the positives here. Attitude, the number one thing, and I mentioned it when we're talking about turnovers or when we're talking about tempo. Even if the Raptors go up or they go down, it seems like they're always staying level-headed. And last season, this was one of the biggest issues, was that the star players or the number one guys, they're always reliant upon the bench unit to be that spark that brings the attitude back up, because if the calls were going wrong, such as last game, or the game against the Jazz, if the calls are going wrong or if the shots aren't falling, then you see players, their demeanor just completely slumps down. But on this win stretch, on this road trip, no matter what happened in any given game, all the players have this completely positive, energetic attitude right out on the court, and this is what's translating to the wins. Big contribution is to Nick Nurse. He's recognizing that when certain lineups or certain players aren't gelling or aren't doing well in the court, he immediately switches them out. And this is really, really good that he doesn't have some sort of pride or ego, that he's not willing to adjust the lineups on the fly in order to rearrange and make what's the best. And I think that this is the key to the Raptors' success, is to maintaining that positive attitude. The next best thing that they're doing is closing out games. Kawhi Leonard. It cannot be overstated how good this player is. Even on a night he's only shooting 41%, that's still a great percentage. 25 points, 11 rebounds, but he just comes alive in the fourth quarter. He wants the ball. He's not a player that's overly vocal. He's not overly expressive, but he is a gamer. He lives for those fourth quarter, those clutch opportunities. It's incredible to watch him out there. Another player, Pascal Siakam. I can't even get into players yet. I'm spoiling moving ahead, but closing out games, even Kyle Lowry this season, the Raptors have been so tuned in to making sure that no opposing team is allowed to come back in the game, even when it's, they have this 15-point, 20-point lead at the third quarter or the beginning of the fourth, and they let it slip. Those last 6 to 8 minutes of the fourth quarter are just absolutely magical to watch, and that's amazing for the Raptors this season, because, again, last season, seasons prior, finishing games has always been a bit of an issue because it's receded to this sort of isolation basketball, but now we just have a player that can finish and just really do amazing things, and there's way more trust in this Raptor squad to give it to anybody to make those big shots. Next thing, free throws. 91% team free throw percentage. Kawhi Leonard, 9 for 9. Pascal Siakam, amazing to see, 5 for 5. They were being aggressive all game. The refs, thankfully, gave them the calls, and they were converting, and that's a big difference. In a game that you only win by, how many points did they win? 9 points, in only a 9-point victory, not missing free throws is absolutely essential. It's crucial, and it's not very often you see a team shooting in the 90%, especially on the road. Really good job for the Raptors staying focused, converting those free throws. It's an age-old argument. A player's getting paid millions of dollars a season. Of course, if you've ever played basketball, you know that there's many different factors. It's really hard to shoot an efficient percentage all the time. But if you're getting paid millions of dollars, if this is your job, if you're practicing this every single day, you should be shooting a good percentage. You should be shooting 75%, 80%, perhaps above. And today was a day that it proved when every player stepped up to the line, they were focused, they were ready to knock down those shots. And the big shining star of all the positives is he Michael Jordan? Is he Pascal Siakam? Who knows right now? He's playing out of this world, 72% from the field, 21 points, 3 rebounds, assists, 2 steals. Not huge stat sheet stuffing numbers, but Pascal Siakam is like a deer on steroids that was taught how to play basketball at a level above everybody else because he can run so fast. He has quickness. He was able to absolutely teach Marvin Bagley a thing or two about basketball, a thing or two about how not to defend a player. He was able to bring it to every single player. If you were watching the Raptors feed, the announcers were talking about this. I don't know if it was Jack or Leo. Actually, I was pretty tired watching the game, so I'm not sure if even Matty D was reporting. I'm pretty sure it was Jack and Leo, but it's a really tough matchup if you're the opposing coach on who do you send out against Pascal Siakam, because really traditional centers and power forwards are not mobile enough with lateral quickness to deal with Pascal Siakam because he has so much speed and left to right. His spin move is becoming lethal. So you really have to put him against, a fast, tall, small forward, most likely. But if he doesn't have the length or the height, Pascal Siakam is going to go up, over, and through him. So Pascal Siakam is a very tough player to defend, and as of late, no coach has had the answer yet. And this is super exciting. I'll throw it to you guys. Could he be an all-star this season? Is it absolutely unimaginable to think Pascal Siakam could become an all-star? Let me know in the comment section below. Getting a little bit late here. Thanks for staying with us if you've been listening to this entire podcast. We'll get into the segments. And we start with the Kawhi light of the night. The Kawhi you do him like that. I can't remember which one. Oh, we're doing the Kawhi you do him like that. Kawhi Leonard gets the Kawhi you do them like that play of the night with a smooth crossover and finish with the dagger, the tomahawk. He's just an all-around player. He's a two-way guy that can do anything. It's fantastic to watch him, but not all plays can be as smooth and as fierce for the Raptors squad, of course. Some just make you say, oh, geez. And just like Kawhi's crazy cross and tomahawk, Willie Cauley-Stein said, I can one-up you. Of course, it's only in a 5-on-3 situation. We have 2 Raptors players kind of helping each other up to get back up the court, but wide open lane for Willie Cauley-Stein. He, bang, throws down the absolute yam. Made me say, oh, geez. But good on him. Good on him for that little bit of flash. Speaking of, Aaron Gordon put on a bit of a in-game dunk contest performance. He was finishing the alley-oop and puts the old arm behind the head. Very fancy for an in-game. A little bit cocky. I love it. Love to see it. But back to this game. Happens every night. Somebody needs to receive it. The Damari Carroll Gold Star Award for worst performance of the evening. Bit of a toss-up. I hate to hate on the Raptors players, but somebody has to receive it each night. We'll give it to Malachi Richardson. 0% from the field. I'm joking. He only played 1 minute. Maybe DeLon Wright this evening, though. If we're to be honest, 0 for 3 from the field, only 2 points, 1 assist, 1 steal. Not horrible stats. He's obviously also just coming off the injury, so it's going to take him a little while to, find his legs again and to get, readjusted into the flow of basketball. But I think, the only reason we're giving to him is just because the rest of the team played pretty well. The other criticism could perhaps be on Danny Green, 6 points, 2 for 10 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3. If this was CJ Miles, it'd be a shoe-in for worst performance of the evening. But we always see that Danny Green just has games that even if he's not making his shots, you still want him out there on the court because of his defense, because he does everything right. It's really almost a perplexing mystery on how, if you look at the box score, it really doesn't seem impressive. But if you watch the game, you think, wow, this guy is just a fantastic basketball player. And his 6 points, came off of 2 successive baskets from a dish from Kawhi Leonard, and then he pulled up in transition, both threes. there's just something about him. He puts in baskets when it's necessary from him. And I think Danny Green, even though you might be getting the gold star tonight, it's still amazing to have you on this team. He wasn't just a little extra piece to sprinkle on top of the trade deal. He really is an important fixture of this basketball team now for the Raptors. So, yeah. And finally, look ahead. Next couple of games for the Raptors. Playing against the Knicks. I'm not extremely worried about the New York Knicks. 3-7, I believe, in their last 10 games. It would be surprising if the Raptors weren't able to defeat them in Sunday's matchup. I think the one game ahead in the Pelicans, they've been struggling as of late. They had a pretty hot start, and then, of course, with the injury of Anthony Davis, and then he came back, but they haven't been able to get back into that winning habit, that dominance that they had at the beginning of the season. I'm not extremely worried about that game either. Pascal Siakam is Anthony Davis' daddy. That seems, Joel Embiid says he occupies real estate in Andre Drummond's mind, and I think Pascal Siakam owns a subdivision at least, maybe a metropolitan area in Anthony Davis' mind. I think the Pelicans should be an easy victory. Well, not an easy victory, of course. They are a solid team, but that should be a victory as well for the Raptors. So the final question to pose in concluding this podcast, to leave you guys off with a final thought if you've stuck around for this long, is when will the winning end for the Raptors? Who's going to bring not the first loss, of course, of the Raptors team, but who's going to bring this next loss to the Raptors squad? Will it be against an unexpected team, or are we going to have to wait until they play the Golden State Warriors or one of those top-tier teams? Who knows? Let me know what you think. If you've stuck around this far, thanks so much. Follow the Instagram, Twitter, all of that good stuff. Thanks so much for all the comments, all the criticisms and all the inquisitive, questions trying to put me in my place. It's really, and Ben as well, it's been really, we read it all, and it's been really helpful for us to think critically about the things that we say and to have different perspectives and different point of views. So definitely keep it up, and also so much love and appreciation for all of the positive feedback that we've been getting on a nightly basis. We really love to hear from you guys. We're reading all the comments. We try to take everything to heart. It's been amazing, and we're super excited to continue. So, but, thanks, and we'll see you next podcast, or you'll see us or hear us. Cheers.